This is Agricultural Research Council of Nigerian Television. My name is Joshua Ishal. Welcome into the program Back to Farm. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, Back to Farm is a program that tells you all you need to know to go back to farm. Nigerian population is rising by day, and as such, every sector and every strata of agriculture need to be explored so that we can be able to sustain food. And of course, the present government has actually declared a state of emergency in the agricultural sector. It's more reason why we have to go out to the nooks and crannies of Nigeria to make sure we bring to you those that matter in the system of agriculture so that they can be able to enlighten you to know what you need to know so you can practice in your own way. And today we find ourselves in a broilers breeding farm. Yes, basically if you have a layers breeding farm, and then the farm caretaker, Mr. Hamisu, is going to be telling us all it takes to actually brood layers till the point that they get to where they can be sold at the point of lay, or better to keep them to lay those chickens. So stay tuned as we are going to be taking this very amazing and interesting episode of the program Back to Farm. Okay, your name, sir?
My name is Muhammad Hamisu, from Proton Farm Integrated Oil and Farms Limited.
Okay. Please, we are here at the brooding of layers birds. So generally, what can you explain as brooding layers birds?
What I can explain is, if you look at this brooding room, you see that we domicate the brooding room with net because we are having some crashes on rats, so on and so on. So that is why we domicate it and close it very well so that we can provide what we want into the bed. And before we start brooding the bed from day old, we have to prepare everything that is not commonwealth on them. That is why we are going to arrange the floor with sawdust, heat, temperature. Before we are using charcoal or something like that, but this one is a new system that we brought that is very important to the bed because the charcoal have some smoking that is not good on the bed. That is why we start using this one. So the first thing to do before brooding is to clean the place properly and use some chemical to disinfect all the places because some virus or anything that is not good from them. So when we brought them, the first day what we do is to arrange antibiotic because we have many antibiotic that we can arrange for brooding. So we have arranged all those ones. If you look at the bed, there are 4 weeks today, and it's today that we give them the 4 weeks vaccination. So this is what we do before we bring the bed.
Okay. So now, before they got to this very point of being 4 weeks, what after they were hatched from the hatchery, when you brought them here, what was the basic thing you actually did from the day one you brought them from the hatchery to this very place?
From day one, we have so many programs, but the program that we arrange in our farm, the first thing is like antibiotic that we use for the first day of brooding is doxygen, multivite, and glucose or glucomol. All is the same thing. So we give them that antibiotic and vitamin for 5 days, Then after 5 days, we can give them only pure water for 1 day before the first vaccine. And the first vaccine we start with is Gomboro vaccine, that is against borsal disease. Then the second one is Lasota vaccine. The third one, you can still repeat that Gomboro vaccine, what we have already do it today. That is, we did Lasota vaccine. That is the fourth vaccine that we do from them before injectable vaccine. So all what we did is oral, because we have two type of vaccination.
So at what point do you do the injectable vaccination? Is it when they are 4 weeks, when they are 2 weeks, or at what point?
The injectable vaccine, the first one we do, some hatcheries have already do before we birth them. So we are going to start from 5 weeks, which is now we finish the oral vaccination. Then when they are 5 weeks, we are going to start inject them with fowl pox vaccine. That one is again fox disease. Then maybe 6 weeks we have Komarov. 7 weeks we have cholera. 8 weeks we have so many vaccines that maybe our program is different than maybe some other farmers. So but our own, that is how we used to arrange it until the point of play. So like this one, some people have already booked it, that we are going to give them as a point of play, to sell it as a point of play, because we have many type of selling our bird. We can sell the day old, we can sell the point of play, and we can stock them to the laying period.
Okay, now from the day one you brought those birds into this very house, what could be the major problem that may hinder their growth? Is this over congestion, or could it be the water, could it be food, or could it be, what could be the major thing someone should be sensitive about when it comes to the very day you brought this bird into the cage?
The first thing, the problem is over congestion.
Okay.
Because that is why if you look at our own brooding, we divide it into 6 different places, so that you can put them how they will not be too much. To put them maybe like from there on, we can feel combine all this one to the one cage, but according to the too much convocation, that is why we divide them into 6. Okay. So all of here that you see, we are not getting mortality, because we have arranged them very well.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, these birds, as we are seeing them right now, like in how many weeks time will they be ready for them to be taken out? Because I can see this very place is very hot. What is the idea behind this hot room?
We are keeping them long here, like from day old to 6 weeks.
Okay.
Because according to the weather, it's not, maybe when we arrange 6 weeks, we cannot pack them unless we check the environment and the weather, that either is normal or is abnormal, that maybe we can keep them past that 6 weeks, or maybe before 6 weeks there are some weathers that we can get them out.
Okay. Now, in your wealth of experience over the years in brooding this chicken, what do you think is the major problem that stops their growth and then they will lay egg as they ought to? In your own observation, what could be the major problem?
My own observation, first is feeding and medication. But when you run out of all these 2 things that I observe, anything will be normal for their laying period.
Okay. So now, in your own opinion again, as a farmer who wants to go into this sort of business, what do you think is the major idea that will actually yield a very bountiful result at the end of it all? Could it be that you need to get the stock from good parenting? Could it be feeding? Could it be, what could be the major thing again that will bring about a very, very good healthy bird that will end up giving you the eggs you need at the end?
You look at all the two sides. One, you should know the hatching that you are going to collect the bed.
Okay.
And after you collect the bed, even though the bed are good, you have to take care of the bed well. Because even though you carry the bed from a good hatchery and you did not manage them as well, it is all, you will not get your production well.
Okay, sometimes you get this bird and then you find that some birds actually give birth to small eggs, while some end up giving big eggs, while some end up in fact having two yolks in an egg. How is that actually, how does that play out at the end of it? What could be the reason why some birds end up having small eggs?
That one is normal things in layers. You know, sometimes when you bring the bed, that before we call, there are some stage we call pullet. So that pullet, it is the small size you are going to get it, because they must start with small size of egg. When they are pullet and they started with that normal big size of egg, you will get a problem. Why? You will get some what we call prolapse. So it is good to start with the small size, but when they are now into their normal stage of normal size, then now you observe and see what type of egg are you getting. And we have time that they will lay a large size. So all these sizes is from your observation. Yes.
Okay, now at this point of 4 weeks, what could be the common disease that they can be attacked with?
The first disease that we attack with when you did not care of them is anticoccidiosis. Okay. So mostly we have problem of
what
coccidiosis. Yes, coccidiosis is a disease that they can get it through their water or their feed, because when you look at where they are eating, it is tray. That is the first stage before that feeders. So from this tray, when you are not taking the program stage by stage, you will get this problem, because they can take their shit from the tray that is on the feed and on the water. So we have some arrangement weeks that to prevent them before they get into that disease.
What is Gomboro disease and how does it affect birds?
Gomboro disease, in my own observation, sometimes we have two types of infection. One, maybe is from your applying the vaccine. You can get a mistake from you or from where you buy it. And then secondly, Gomboro can, when you look at the bed, there are some signs that you will observe, say yes, this one is Gomboro vaccine. Because Gomboro, let's say they are 1,000 today, when the Gomboro vaccine affect them or the disease start affecting them, like tomorrow you may get like 50, 100, before you know the bed would finish, the die finish. But that is different between Gomboro and Lasota. Lasota is Newcastle, and Newcastle is not affecting the bed once like Gomboro vaccine.
Okay. Now, in your experience over the years, can you tell us when you had the worst scenario case where you had a lot of death? God forbid it don't happen again anyway. But what happened and what was the disease that attacked your farm that really cost you a lot of losses?
Like here, we have never get that infection, but usually some farm we used to see that they are having that issue. But we here, that is why sometimes we have to bring the bed stage by stage. Maybe I'm going to stock 1,000. So firstly, I will brood 500 pieces. So at the end, I will still bring the 500, because sometimes people does not look into where are them going to keep the bed. So when you look at the size of 1,000, like this player, you can contain 5,000, 10,000, but at the end, you don't have players that maybe after 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that you are going to transfer them or to share them so that there will not be too much of vacation. So all that one is another problem.
So now, at this point in time, after they are 6 weeks now, what do you do next? Where do you sell them off? Do you stop them in your poultry? What do you generally do?
Like I told you, this one now, after 6 weeks, maybe we are going to leave them like 9 weeks when they are ready to lay. That is to the point of lay, before we give the owner that he have already booked on us from us here.
Okay. So now, layers and broilers, which one is difficult in terms of breeding? Is it the same breeding process, or there are two different breeding processes?
Yeah, it's the first process is the same thing, but after like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, there is different, because broilers is a commercial production, while this one you will keep them maybe 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So we have another stage of program that you can continue, even though you bring them one day, the same day, you have to sell those one when they are 8 weeks. 8 weeks, that is broilers, and layers will not stop doing vaccination until when they are 16 weeks to lay. That is to the point of lay.
Now, this is this light, and what is the major use of this light, and how often is it on? Is it always on, or they switch it off at the point, or what? Just tell us all about this light.
This light is heater. It's not for lighting. It's just for heating. Okay. So when you look at, even we that we are here, we are having the
we're feeling the
heating. So we have to observe, because when we are brooding, it's 24 hours program. So the bed will show you that the temperature is okay or is low. That is the control of the heater. When it's okay, you can off the light. When they need the heat, then you can leave it.
How do you know if it's okay?
When you look at the bed will not near the heater. Okay. So they will just go out on the heater. But when they need the heat, they will go through to him and stay there.
Okay. How does this affect these other birds? This light affect these other birds by this side as well?
Yes, because it is only the heat, and the heat is circulating all the brooding room, not only here. That is why we just keep it here, because when the heat circulates all the room, when we off it, all the bed is okay. Okay. So when they need it, then we can now stay on it again.
Okay. How often do you come into this room in a day?
The program is, for now, is 3 times a day.
Okay. Okay. In the morning?
First time in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. Then 2 o'clock in the afternoon and 4 o'clock in the evening.
What do you do in the morning, what do you do in the afternoon, and what do you do in the evening?
We are feeding them in the morning. First in the morning, when we come, you have to stay outside the net and look at your bed. That is, how are them stand up? Is anyone look sick? When you look at them before you start work, you may observe that before you enter and start the work. So after we observe of the bed that they are okay, or there are some that is not okay, when we enter we can pick the one that is not okay before we start feeding them.
When anyone is not okay, do you have a way to know what is actually wrong with it? Maybe, let's say one dies now. Do you have a way to know what actually amounted to the death of that very person, or you just assume it is this disease?
We used to, there are so many signs that even though we did not, when we just look the bed, maybe we can look, is this from eyes or from their sheet, or it is pecking. You have to look that one. So immediately he died, we can know what caused the death and now take the solution.
Okay. The sawdust I see here now, how often do you change it, or is it the one you put from the day one? That is what is going to take to the end of it? How often do you change these sawdust?
The sawdust used to damage according to their eating and drinking water. So sometimes even though we arrange it as weekly, sometimes we may not reach weekly because of the odor. When you enter, you will start having some odor that to show you the sawdust wanted to change. That is where we have to know, and yes, we can change it, or maybe we can add some days on it.
The water we see now, sometimes some people end up putting glucose in the water, some put. What do you use to treat your water? And why do you usually treat your water?
We have so many chemicals that we are treating the water, sometimes through our tank, overhead tank. So when we observe the water that maybe there are something, because like this rain season, there are some dirty from rain season that it will go through the boreholes. So when we look the water now to know what happened to the water and what type of chemical are we going to treat the water before continue using it.
Okay. So why did they put glucose inside water?
The glucose is not antibiotic or vitamin, it's just for stress. That is why the glucose we just give it just for the first 3 days. So after that 3 days, we are not using glucose again.
So roughly now, the birds we are seeing now, they are 4 weeks, am I right? So in how many weeks time will they start laying now? Or in how many months time?
5 months.
Okay, from now?
From now to 5 months.
Okay. Each one of them will roughly be laying at least 1 egg in a day?
Yes, 1 egg in a day.
Wow. But are there disparity, or all of them literally end up doing the same thing when they start laying eggs?
No.
Okay.
Even though you have 20,000 or any amount you have, sometimes you may start with only 1 pieces at the day that they are going to start. So maybe
so only 1 lays on that day.
On that day. So it is just a sign that all the birds now reach to start laying, okay. But they cannot start laying once a day. Maybe one after 2 weeks, you may now getting a crate. After 3 weeks, that is how the production will be going as the percentage of the bed.
So now this business, in your own opinion and your own experience, how profitable is this business compared to layers and broilers? If it's you now, you want to advise someone who wants to go into poultry, will you ask him to go for layers or broilers, and why?
The only thing before anybody start this business is to look buyers, because the only problem is where you can sell your markets, not to bring in the bed. But if you have market on the layers or broilers, all are good and they can give you profit. They can give you profit how you put them. So between broilers and the layers are all giving profit.
Okay. So now, lastly, in your own opinion, what advice do you have to Nigerians who want to go into this kind of business and don't know how to go about it? What would you say is the main thing they should look out for?
My own advice is, before you start the business, you have to go to the person that have experience on it. So don't think that you just have money that you can start it. You have to go to person that have experience, or maybe it takes some years in the business, that he can more give you some advice how to set your farm.
that note, we come to the end of the program Back to Farm. Today on Back to Farm, we talked about broilers chicken brooding. Yes, talking about the processes in which the broiler that lay your eggs, the processes they go through from bringing them from day old to the point of lay. I'm sure you must have learned how this whole process is being done. Until some other time, my name remains Joshua Ishaya, and remember, the program has been Back to Farm. Of course, Nigeria have declared food security as a state of emergency, and as such, everyone needs to go back to farm. Until some other time, bye for now.